while the billionaires and the Christian fascists dance with glee. Is that too extreme, that kind of an image? I don't think so. In another post on his toy social media platform, the orange bastard also pushed Republicans to deal with the debt limit before he takes office, saying, quote, "If they don't, he'll have to fight till the end with Democrats." So what does that mean? I guess it means that Trump is terrified of Democrats or something. I'm not sure. And then he wrote this, the orange bastard, on his toy social media platform. Quote, "This is a nasty trap set in place by the radical left Democrats. They're looking to embarrass us in June when the debt limit comes up for a vote. The people that extended it from September 28th to June 1st should be ashamed of themselves." Now, he's referring to the people who, back in September, decided to keep the government open for a number of stupid reasons, to keep checks flowing to retired military, to keep paychecks going to active military, to keep the government funded, to keep the weather service funded, to keep school systems funded, just a bunch of left-wing radical Democrat bullshit, according to Trump. And poor old Steve Scalise, that pop-eyed fool, said last night that the Christian fascists were working on a new continuing resolution, but as of yet, they just haven't reached a deal. Scalise said, quote, "Still a lot of negotiations and conversations going on. There's no new agreement right now," end quote. Now, Steve Scalise, who is number 2 in the Christian fascist hierarchy after the uber Christian, Scalise said there were, quote, "ongoing conversations about linking raising the debt limit to a government funding plan." Scalise said, quote, "We've been having some conversations about debt limit as it relates to the continuing resolution." End quote. What the fuck does that mean? You see what I'm saying? I don't consider myself to be exceptionally stupid. As a matter of fact, I don't consider myself to be stupid at all. I am grossly ignorant in certain areas, probably more so than I should be. But I am not so ignorant to sit here and say, as I quote this sentence to you, what the fuck are they talking about? Do you have any idea? What it seems to me to be here is like I don't know, like a voodoo dance. I mean, think about all the fucked up movies you've seen over the years, produced and directed by white people, that shows voodoo aspirants in Haiti, flinging dead chickens around and chopping their heads off and jerking, and while the spirits of, I don't know, good, evil, possess their bodies. And there's chanting and drum beating and screeching and shrieking. And I don't know what's going on, except people are just getting totally fucked up. Well, that is how I see the U.S. Congress right now, being, under the control of the Christian fascists, that would be the voodoo wannabes, and these interlopers, the immigrant from South Africa, the richest man on earth, Elon Musk, and this dumb shit, Rosanna Ramaswamy, who likes to point and scream and raise his head and act like he knows what he's talking about. So the conflict then is between these two factions. Which one does Trump control? Well, I think it goes without saying he controls the uber Christian, Mike Johnson. If Mike Johnson gets out of line, Trump has promised to beat his ass with a Bible, I guess. So Mike Johnson does exactly what he's told by the orange bastard, or the orange bastard's son, Junior. Have you noticed that? The coke freak? All of a sudden, he's starting to exert some power. Can you say future dynasty? Or as the Brits would say, dynasty? Just a mere thought. Makes me feel like I have to run to the John. But anyway, so you have Trump, who controls every single Christian fascist out of fear and loathing in the U.S. government. And then over here, you have Rosanna Dana Ramaswamy, who, I don't know, he has a grin on his face like a cannibal about to sit down to dinner. And then you have the South African immigrant, Elon Musk, who builds cars that have the capability of taking over control from the driver and slamming into brick walls and killing people. And that makes him a wonderful man, I guess. I mean, the Tesla, doesn't everybody own a Tesla now? I don't. Do you? So you see the morass I've got myself into. I don't know. Are there any Democrats left? Whatever happened to Joe Biden? Is Kamala Harris? Talk about missing persons. I mean, has anybody notified the local police that there are a couple of missing persons? I thought that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ran the government until January 20th. So what is this South African immigrant and this crazy, weird-looking Hindu, what the fuck are they doing? They're telling, I don't know, they're telling the Congress of the United States, do this or we're going to primary you. Or is that Trump that said that? The House has no more votes scheduled as of last night on a continuing resolution or anything about the necessity of funding this country. And it is not clear when a vote might occur. And according to ABC, Speaker Mike Johnson was huddling with members and staff in his office to find a path forward. Oh, my goodness. You tried to find a path. Didn't you leave any breadcrumbs? When you got into this fucking mess, you Christian Nazi assholes, you didn't drop breadcrumbs behind you as you marched the entire country into this goddamn cul-de-sac, and now you're trying to find a path forward. Let me give you a bulletin, Uber Christian. There is no path forward as you mean it. You made your fucking bed. Now sleep in it. The country is about to be blown to pieces by a couple of billionaires and a fucking rapist. You're the ones who did it. Oh, and don't forget Mitch McConnell, who could have put an end to this, 4 goddamn years ago? 5 years ago? But no. Earlier yesterday, the South African came out against the idea of a continuing resolution just to keep the government open. And he went so far as to threaten any member of Congress who voted for keeping the government open. We got 2 days left. His 200 million followers on X saw this, quote, "Please call your elected representatives right away to tell them how you feel. They're trying to get this passed today while no one is paying attention." End quote. And then later yesterday, the South African posted this, quote, "No bills should be passed Congress until January 20th when the real Donald Trump takes office." End quote. So the deadline is tomorrow. Now, maybe, since I'm recording this at a certain time on Thursday, and you may not hear it until Thursday evening, maybe today the South African and the Hindu have decided that, okay, the 330 million people in this country should be allowed to continue their ridiculous spending habits, and all right, we'll let the government stay open. And maybe not. So, the Christian fascist leaders, aka the Republican leadership, have been discussing a clean, short-term funding bill. Now, I think what that means, a clean, short-term funding bill, is that they just go ahead and continue spending as it is on Thursday today. They'll continue it on Friday tomorrow. But I'm not sure. Are you? I try my best to understand this shit, but the specifics about all this are unclear. And this comes less than a day after Republicans revealed the legislative text that was the product of all kinds of negotiations between so-called Democrats and progressives and senators. The House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, signaled, the fuck does that mean? Signaled the Democrats were not inclined to vote for a clean bill. And Jeffries told reporters, an agreement is an agreement. Now, what did he mean by that? Well, he went on. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse. Well, Mr. Jeffries, with all due respect, sir, it sounds like you are, I don't know, tossing it to us, the American people. What the fuck do you want us to do? Is it time for the pitchforks and the flaming torches? Is it time for a real march on the Capitol? Is it time to maybe imitate what people have done all around the world historically when they have fucking had enough of this shit? Whether they were Russian or Ukrainian or Syrian or Chinese or at one time Americans? Have we had enough? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Jeffries, that the American people had better fucking get control of things? Oh, well, no, of course not. Hakeem Jeffries is too much of a gentleman to suggest that having a Hindu and a South African run this fucking country at this time in this country's history is not exactly the best idea. Oh, and sitting at the top of the pissy pyramid, of course, would be a rapist and a felon. Well, what to do? What to do? Oh, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. House Speaker Uber Christian Mike Johnson was on the Fox Sewer yesterday morning and was asked about Musk's post during an interview. And the Uber Christian appeared not to worry about Musk posting or his ability to influence any of the funding bills because, you know, this is what the Uber Christian said on the Fox Sewer yesterday. Quote, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. And I was explaining to them the background of this. Vivek and I talked last night about midnight. And he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. End quote. And the Uber Christians said that the South African and the Hindu, the two Department of Government efficiency leaders, are aware of the tough spot that he is in with a very slim majority and Democratic control of the Senate and the White House right now. So the Uber Christian said this, quote, we got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the tracks and we're setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the American first agenda. That's what we're going to run with when we're going to run with gusto beginning January 3rd when we start the new Congress. Well, isn't this special? Huh? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.